What's going on, Eagles fans? You might want to sit down for this one because the rumor mill is heating up again, and once more, the name on everyone's lips is Myles Garrett. Yeah, that Myles Garrett, the freak athlete who looks like he was carved out of marble and destroys offensive tackles for fun. Word around the league is that Philadelphia might still have their eye on him, and if Howie Roseman has his way, we could be talking about one of the biggest defensive trades in modern NFL history. So let's unpack this because it's wild. During the offseason, there were already whispers that the Eagles were calling around about Garrett. It didn't go far back then, mostly because Cleveland made it crystal clear they weren't moving their superstar. But if you've been paying attention to what's been going on with the Browns lately, the frustration, the sideline outbursts, that blow up after the Patriots game, it's not crazy to think something might finally give. Garrett's been carrying that defense on his back week after week, and when you're that talented and the team's going nowhere, it eats at you. He's a competitor. He wants to play meaningful football in January and February. That's not happening in Cleveland anytime soon. And that's exactly where Howie Roseman comes in. We all know Howie loves his defensive linemen like a kid loves Halloween candy. His entire philosophy as a general manager revolves around the trenches. Going all the way back to the early 2000s when Andy Reid and Joe Banner were building this organization's identity, the formula was simple: dominate up front on both sides of the ball. Roseman took that blueprint and made it his religion. You find your quarterback, you protect him, and then you make the opposing quarterback's life miserable. That's how Philadelphia has stayed competitive for decades. And Garrett fits that mold perfectly. Now, the rumor that's been bouncing around is that Howie would be willing to cough up 3 first-round picks to get him. 3. That's the kind of price tag you almost never hear outside of quarterback trades. But let's think about this from Philly's perspective. The Eagles are a perennial contender, so their first-rounders are usually in the late 20s or early 30s. In a typical draft, there might only be 15 or so true first-round talents on most boards anyway. So when you're picking near the bottom, you're not guaranteed a difference maker. Trading 3 of those picks for a guy who's already one of the best defensive players of this generation might not be as crazy as it sounds on paper. For the Browns, though, the decision isn't that simple. Financially, it's messy. Garrett's got a massive contract, 4 years, roughly $160 million. That's superstar money, and moving it would leave behind a mountain of dead cap space. We're talking more than $40 million in penalties spread over the next 2 seasons. That's brutal, especially when they're already still digging out of the Deshaun Watson mess. But at the same time, if Garrett's really that unhappy, if he's throwing helmets on the sidelines and snapping at reporters, at some point you have to ask whether it's worth the drama. You can rebuild faster with extra draft picks, and 3 first-rounders would give you a serious head start. Still, it's hard to imagine Cleveland letting go of a guy like that. This isn't just any player. We're talking about a generational pass rusher. Since entering the league as the number 1 overall pick back in 2017, Garrett has been nothing short of spectacular. Defensive Player of the Year, multiple All-Pro selections, Pro Bowls every season, double-digit sacks year after year. The man's resume looks like something straight out of a video game. He's built like a superhero and plays like one too. 6'4", 270 pounds of speed and power with a motor that never quits. When you watch him bend the edge, it's like watching physics break in real time. But let's be honest here, as unstoppable as he's been, Cleveland hasn't done much winning during his tenure. That's got to wear on a guy. Players of Garrett's caliber want legacy moments. They want playoff sacks, championship runs, confetti falling from the sky. He's been stuck on a team that seems perpetually lost. Every year, there's a new coach, a new system, a new reason to wait till next season. That gets old fast. If the Browns aren't close to contending, and they're not, then a trade might be the only way for both sides to move forward. Now imagine Garrett wearing midnight green. Imagine him lining up next to Jalen Carter and Josh Sweat, with Brandon Graham rotating in and Nolan Smith coming off the edge. That's not a defensive line. That's a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. And it fits perfectly with what Vic Fangio wants to do. The Eagles have been blitzing more than usual this season because the pressure hasn't been consistent enough with just 4 guys. You add Garrett to that mix, and suddenly you don't have to blitz nearly as much. The front four can dominate on their own, and that takes so much pressure off the secondary. Corners play tighter, safeties can sit back, and everything just clicks. It's the kind of move that could instantly swing the Super Bowl odds. We all remember what happened when the Eagles' pass rush was firing on all cylinders. They didn't have to send extra heat. They just overwhelmed defensive lines with talent. That's how they got to Patrick Mahomes in that first matchup and made him look human for once. If they could recreate the kind of pressure with Garrett anchoring the edge, this team would be terrifying. The challenge, of course, is the cost. 3 first-round picks sound like a fortune, and they are. But Howie Roseman's not afraid of bold moves. This is the same guy who flipped picks to land A.J. Brown, signed big contract for proven stars, and rebuilt a roster in record time. He knows when to strike. And if he truly believes Garrett is the missing piece, he'll find a way to make it work. The salary cap can always be massaged. Contracts can be restructured. That's Howie's superpower. You also have to consider the timing. Garrett just turned 29, which means he's still smack in the middle of his prime. For a defensive end, that's the sweet spot. Experienced enough to dominate with technique, but still explosive enough to wreck games physically. By the time that contract runs out, he'd still have several elite years left in him. If the Eagles are serious about maximizing this championship window while Hurts is in his prime and the offensive line remains intact, there might not be a better move they could make. Still, it's not just about numbers and stats. There's something deeper about this whole conversation. It's about identity. Philadelphia has always prided itself on being tough, gritty, and relentless. This city loves defense. They cheer louder for a sack than some fan bases do for touchdowns. Garrett embodies everything this fan base celebrates. He's violent at the point of attack, disciplined with his hands, and plays with an intensity that borders on art. You put him in that midnight green jersey, and he'd fit the culture instantly. At the same time, there's a human side to this. Garrett's frustration in Cleveland makes sense. He's given everything to that franchise, production, leadership, effort, and still find himself in the same losing cycle. When the offense sputters and the team falls apart, it's easy to lose patience. He's one of the best players in football, and he deserves to play for something bigger. You can only carry a team on your back for so long before it starts to feel pointless. That's what makes this rumor so fascinating. It's not just about a trade. It's about ambition. It's about a franchise like the Eagles that refuses to stand still, always pushing to get better, and a player like Garrett who might finally be ready for a real shot at greatness. Whether or not it happens, just the idea of it shows how aggressive and forward-thinking Howie Roseman truly is. He's never satisfied. He's always searching for that next edge, that next move that could make the difference between a deep playoff run and a Lombardi trophy. Now, while everyone's buzzing about the idea of Myles Garrett in Midnight Green, another storyline started brewing right under the radar, and it's got fans talking nonstop. The name popping up this time? Jaire Alexander. Yeah, the former All-Pro corner who was a healthy scratch the other night. That move alone sent shockwaves through the league, and of course, when something like that happens, Eagles fans instantly start connecting the dots. Could Howie Roseman make another move, this time to patch up the secondary? It's a fair question, because even though the Eagles' defense has been holding strong up front, the back end has been shaky at times. Injuries, inconsistency, and some blown coverages have made things a little too interesting. Everyone remembers that the Eagles were rumored to have interest in Alexander during the offseason. But let's be real. The version of Jaire we're seeing right now isn't the same guy who used to shut down half the field. He's been battling injuries, his explosiveness looks off, and when he has been on the field, the production hasn't matched the reputation. In fact, the numbers are brutal. A passer rating allowed north of 100, yards per catch over 20, and a coverage grade that's honestly hard to believe for a player of his caliber. It's a small sample size, sure, but the tape doesn't lie. He's lost a step, and when you're playing corner in this league, one step is the difference between an interception and a touchdown. That's why I can't get on board with the idea of trading for him. The Eagles don't need another expensive veteran trying to find his rhythm again. They need reliability. They need hungry, young players who can stay on the field and grow together. And honestly, they already have some intriguing pieces. Jacorian Bennett, for example, Might not have the experience yet, but the potential is there. He's got the speed, he's got the physicality, and if you give him reps on the outside, he might just surprise people. Cooper DeJean is another name worth mentioning. Versatile, athletic, a true ball hawk. If Bennett struggles, moving DeJean to the boundary could stabilize things. Then you have Michael Carter, who's been quietly solid in the slot. That trio, when coached right and given time to develop, could hold their own against anyone. That's the thing about Philadelphia. They don't panic. Fans might, Twitter definitely does, but Howie and Nick Sirianni don't operate out of desperation. They look at the big picture. They know what this defense can be when everyone's healthy. And with Vic Fangio calling plays, adjustments will happen. The system takes time. It's built on communication and discipline, and once the secondary syncs up with the pressure up front, everything clicks. Still, I get why people are curious. The idea of adding a big name always stirs excitement. But sometimes the best move is no move. If the Eagles can get more consistent play from young corners and the pass rush does its job, that's how you win sustainably. Because remember, every blockbuster trade comes with a cost, not just in draft capital, but in locker room chemistry and salary cap flexibility. You bring in someone like Alexander, and suddenly you're moving pieces around, changing roles, maybe even messing with a rotation that's just starting to gel. That's not always worth it. What really matters right now is that the defense as a whole finds its rhythm again. The front seven is doing its part, creating pressure, stopping the run, forcing bad throws. The secondary just needs to clean up the details. Too many times this season, they've been in position but haven't finished plays. Missed tackles, mistimed jumps, small mistakes that turn into big gains. That's the kind of stuff that separates a good defense from a great one. And speaking of greatness, it's hard not to think about how far this team has come under Roseman's leadership. He's turned rebuilding into an art form. He doesn't tear things down, he retools. Every offseason, there's a plan. Draft the trenches, develop young talent, and stay flexible enough to strike when an opportunity presents itself. Whether it's A.J. Brown, Darius Slay, or Haason Reddick, Howie knows when to pull the trigger. And if he believes a move puts this team over the top, he won't hesitate. But he's also smart enough to know when to hold his cards. This is what makes the Eagles so dangerous. They're built for both the present and the future. The roster isn't full of aging veterans hanging on. It's balanced. You've got young stars like Jalen Carter and Devonta Smith learning from proven leaders like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce. That combination creates culture. It's why even when things get tough, this team doesn't unravel. They adapt. They adjust. They fight. So when rumors start swirling, whether it's Garrett, Alexander, or whoever the next big name might be, you got to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The Eagles don't chase headlines. They chase championships. And right now, every move, every rumor, every whisper is part of that larger pursuit. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around the NFL, and the latest bombshell comes straight from A.J. Brown, the Philadelphia Eagles' star wide receiver. In what could be one of the most explosive offseason stories yet, Brown reportedly stated, "Nobody on the roster wants him back with the Eagles." The remark, brief but loaded, has already set social media ablaze, leaving fans and analysts alike scrambling to speculate about who he might be talking about and what it could mean for the team's future. The Eagles have been no strangers to drama over the past few seasons, and Brown's comment adds fuel to a fire that seemed only simmering until now. While he didn't explicitly name the player, insiders suggest that tensions within the locker room may have reached a tipping point, and Brown's candid words could be just the tip of the iceberg. Players and coaches are famously private about internal conflicts, but when a star of Brown's caliber speaks so openly, it inevitably sends shockwaves. Rumors are already flying that the statement could signal deeper fractures within the Eagles squad, raising questions about leadership, team chemistry, and the front office's ability to manage high-profile personalities. Analysts are debating whether this is a strategic play by Brown to assert influence over team decisions, or a genuine expression of frustration with a player who could be on the verge of returning. Fans, naturally, have taken to Twitter, TikTok, and fan forums to weigh in, with reactions ranging from shock to disbelief, and even speculation about potential trade scenarios. Some argue that Brown's influence in the locker room has grown so strong that his words could directly affect the team's off-season moves. Others caution that this might just be typical NFL heat-of-the-moment talk, destined to fade once practice resumes. What's clear is that Philadelphia's offseason just got a lot more intriguing, with Brown's comment echoing across sports media outlets. The rumor mill is churning faster than ever. If the Eagles are truly divided on welcoming a former player back, it could spark a cascade of roster moves, trade rumors, and front office decisions. One thing is certain. The Eagles' next steps will be scrutinized like never before, and every move will be dissected under the glare of Brown's bold declaration. Whether this is the start of a locker room rebellion or just a passing headline, A.J. Brown has ensured that all eyes are on Philadelphia. And for NFL fans, nothing beats a little off-season drama wrapped in the kind of locker room intrigue that keeps the sport unpredictable, entertaining, and endlessly debated. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.